Hey, my name's Jonathan. I'm autistic. I'm going to tell you about my experiences and, well, how it helped when I was diagnosed.
I was nearly 40 when I had Jonathan, and I didn't know much about kids, any sort of kids really. So I assumed that most babies were the same, really. And I had Jonathan, and I must admit at the time, I never really understood why parents would have more than one, because he was incredibly challenging, really difficult as a baby. And then when he was put alongside his peers, I think it was at that point that I realised how very different he was. I happened to take Jonathan to a doctor's appointment that I'd got for myself, and the district nurse happened to be there, and Jonathan, as usual, was having a meltdown. I was trying desperately to sort of cope and have a conversation with somebody and try and manage Jonathan. And she took him off me, and she sort of came back into the room and said, "Oh, I'm sorry, I didn't realise that your son was autistic."
This nurse came up to my mum. I was waiting in the waiting room for a hospital appointment, and a nurse came up to my mum and said, "Is that your son?" She said, "Yes." And she said, "Oh, he's a lot like my son. My son's autistic." And my mum was like, "What? He can't be autistic."
Within a week, we got a diagnosis. He was aged 10.
Apparently, it worries a lot of people when they're diagnosed. It didn't do that. I was slightly worried. I was slightly, saying, "What? That's not me." But as soon as I read a load of books on myself, well, on autistics, it all seemed like me.
If I could sort of offer any ideas or advice to other parents who just got specifically a late diagnosis, because I think that's where the problems come, is when you have a late diagnosis, is not to panic. It's not the end of the world. It's actually the start of a new world, and a much, much better world, because you can have understanding. And I have certainly formed a much closer relationship with Jonathan than ever I had before. Much, much more positive.
My new school is brilliant. It has a Senko. It has a whole department dedicated to special needs. It's just got a lot better. I'm not getting in any trouble. I'm top of my classes sometimes. I'm kind of not very good at maths, but I'm very creative. In brackets. I don't know.
There will always be problems. That there will always be the difficulties that are associated, and there will always be prejudice. There will always be people who frown